Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. Happy to have in studio some great guests to this show has gone to the dogs, literally. We've got Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury here, also Justin Cotti and Solo. You'll be able to see this on the video when you check it out later this morning. But three great guests. Two of them will be doing most of the talking here today. Morning to you both. Happy New Year.
Morning, thank you.
Thanks for bringing in Solo. Solo, one of the dogs in the canine unit here for Mason County. And one of the things we want to talk about this morning, is that right, Casey?
Yes.
All right, let's start it off here. Talk to me a little bit about this whole thing and why Solo is here today.
Well, this is Deputy Cotti, and this is his dog, Solo. And Jeff, I think the reason that, the reason I brought Solo in this morning is so that a number of people in the community get a chance to see not only out as a working dog, but to see the dog here in the studio. That some of these people don't even have, maybe not even seen the dog. This last year, we had $700,000 in budget cuts, which affects our programs greatly. And we're one of the only canine programs that the commission does not fully fund the canine program. So consequently, that money to keep these dogs has come through donations. This last month, and predominantly from one meeting, people were very concerned about losing the canine program and other programs. We received over $4,300 in donations as a result of the concern for our budget cuts and not to have our dog program go away. And so we thought we'd bring in Canine Solo and Deputy Cotti and let them talk a little bit about the program and the importance of the funding for the program.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start this off. So how long have you had Solo, and what are some of your day-to-day interactions? And I can only imagine the cost associated with keeping a dog like this as well.
Yeah, perfect situation is the dog never gets hurt his entire career. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. These dogs do, very dangerous things that obviously we frankly don't want to do. They do it for free, which is almost absurd, but they love doing it. They have high drive. They're great working dogs. Just the cost, just to buy the dog sometimes is $7,000 or $8,000.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, Solo, for example, who's a little distracted right now, he was free to us. So that's a perfect situation right there. But with that being said, there's ongoing training, there's food, there's vet medical costs associated with that. There's state certifications we have to meet in order to meet those certifications to be a accredited canine team. There's ongoing training, which quite frankly cost overtime and other things that we just don't have the money for sometimes. And with training, there's training aids, whether it's bite sleeves, bite suits, balls, Kongs, different various toys associated with that as well. Those all have high cost as well. So.
We've seen some video of you guys training and working. Jeff Chu has put together some great pieces on that. And so Solo stays with you. He lives at your house and things like that?
He's virtually a pet when he's off duty. He comes home, he has a spot on the couch like any other house dog. It's a different dog at work that he is at home. So.
And so talk to me about the process of you get a call and the canine unit is requested to come out. From there, how does Solo find the perpetrator?
So their sense of smell is virtually 100,000 times stronger than a human's almost. So Mason County is very rural, surrounded by thousands of acres of woods.
Yeah.
Generally, people run from us. They run and they want to conceal themselves, so they run deep into the forest to hide. For a human, I don't care if you're trained in human tracking. For a human to find another human in our deep, dark woods in Mason County is virtually impossible. Yeah. So the dog with their sense of smell, we have a last known location to where the perpetrator ran from. We start our dog from there, and they just, through training and experience, the dog knows what they're after. So they start, that scent path, and they don't stop till they find it.
Is it a scent based off of, you see sometimes in the movies a piece of clothing, they'll sniff that, or is it the pheromone of fear, or what do they trigger onto?
Yes, is the easiest answer to that. Ideally, it's the fear scent is what they're after. Their hunt is their drive. On top of that, a piece of clothing, something like that, will certainly help. But essentially, it's that fear scent that when you run from the police, you're putting that off, and so that lasts up to 24 hours sometimes. So we can show up an hour after the fact, and the dog's still going to find that start, where that scent's at, and he's going to follow it to the end. So.
Wow. And have you worked? You were working with either the Mason County Sheriffs or another organization before you got Solo. Have you worked both ways without the dog?
Yes, I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 2003, and I've had Solo for about 3 years now.
So talk to me about how you've been on a call in the past, maybe without Solo, and then how the perpetrator's mindset changes once the dog comes out.
A lot of times they just give up when the dog comes out. They see the dog, or they hear the dog barking, and they give up, and that's best for everybody. Yeah. Nobody gets bit, nobody gets hurt. But certainly, people don't like the dogs coming after them. So either they give up or they still run, and the outcome's not so good for them. But the dog definitely changes the whole incident for us.
And how many dogs do we have in the sheriff's office?
Currently 3.
Those 3 dogs. And Mason County, as we talked every week for the last years and years, is a big area. So when it comes to calls and calls of service and stuff like that, how do you, is there ever a time when all 3 dogs will be in the same location, or do they all need to be ready at a moment's notice to go for a call? Casey or
I'll let Justin.
We're running 3 shifts right now: a day shift, a swing shift, which is essentially an afternoon shift, and then a graveyard shift. So we have a dog per shift. Okay. So we're trying to have 24-hour dog coverage for the community. There's sick days, vacation days. Sometimes there is no dog on, but we're all subject to call out. So I've been called from home in a deep sleep. I'll get up and I'll get dressed, and sometimes he's harder to get up than I am. Mm-hmm. But once we get in the car, he knows it's game on. So we'll come in off duty if we need to.
So then the calls for service and all that stuff?
I think one of the things that was important to me when I worked at a neighboring county before I came here as sheriff, the canine units in that county would always ask to work the west side next to Mason County because they knew that's where all the dog calls were going to be at. Yeah. And we simply didn't have the canine units at the time, and we had used every dog within 100 miles of Mason County. Most of the dog call-outs, or many of the dog call-outs, or the majority were for Mason County. And so that's why we went out after these dogs. The second part is when I first came here, we had one of the largest numbers of stolen vehicles per capita anywhere. And it was so easy just to take off in somebody's car, get stopped by a deputy, and we had 2 deputies at that time, so you have only 2 people available, one north and one south. The person gets out of the car and takes off in the woods, and what are you going to do? You can't send one person in. Right. And so with the advent of the dogs coming in and being able to track people, the reputation got out there that, oh no, now Mason County's got dogs, and it's curtailed a lot of this stuff. The dogs have done a wonderful job. They've really helped bring our crime rate down, and they just do a great job for us in the community. There's just things that they can do that we can't.
Yeah, it's very impressive to see Solo here today. Again, you can check out some of the video when we get this interview posted. And so kind of a day-to-day basis, what would trigger Solo kind of right now? Do you have to say something, or would somebody comes in off the street and they smell off to her or something? What would be a trigger for her?
Bacon.
He does love bacon. Kind of 2 things. There is commands, so whether I want him to lay down or come here, heel, whatever it is, he has a command to bite. So if I give him that command, he'll bite whoever I direct him to bite. Right now he's very calm, but if I direct him to bite somebody, he would. On top of that, he feeds off me. We're together 24/7, 365 for going on 4 years now.
Wow.
I'm calm and collect right now. If somebody comes in off the street that's a bad guy and I know them and they're wanted for something, I'm going to change. He's going to feed off me, and he's going to start barking at him most likely.
Interesting. Interesting. Casey, you have anything else to add for the rest of this?
Yeah, I'll just read the names. I won't read last names. I just wanted to say thank you to the following people: Arlene and William, Ayers Automotive, Marie and Bill, Rick and Bonnie, Marilyn, Dan and Lynn, Barb and Tim, Shelley and Roger, Jean. Thank you.
Some of the donations
it's $4,300 in donations. People were deeply concerned when they saw our budget cuts, and we're concerned about this dog program and what might happen to it. And that is so appreciated. I don't have permission to read their last names. I didn't have permission to read their names on the radio, so I just stick with the first names. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to throw out there, 2 things this morning, Jeff, is as you know, again, a Florida officer was shot again this morning. And we keep that officer in mind all the way across the nation. And the other big concern for us is we keep hearing about the use of overtime for the sheriff's office. And last night, I just want to throw out there to you how it goes. At 8:30 last night, we had a fatality accident. We had a person in need of medical assistance calling for the sheriff's office. We had a domestic violence assault. We had a vehicle theft. We had 2 runaways at the same time. We had another medical distress for an unknown for a female, and a trespass all at the same time.
Wow.
Okay, that's with 4 people, and many of those calls require at least 2 to go to each one of those and more. So when you hear us go in and concerned about our budget, again, I always have to ask myself, do we just tell people that we're not going, or do we pay out the overtime and then at the end of the year take the criticism. But that was last night at 8:30, and I can tell you that Friday and Saturday night were even more than that. So when you're running with 4 deputies and a sergeant on to cover that many calls at one time, it becomes very, very difficult. And we really appreciate, I think, guys like Deputy Cotti out there. I did it for over 20 years out there on the road doing that, and I think on those nights when that stuff's going on, there's somebody out there coming to be with you and to help you out, and that's Solo and Justin. I also noticed he talked about people getting hurt. And we worry about our handlers too. Justin's been out for a little while with an injury, so it's not just the dogs that get injured. So thank you so much. And Jeff, I'm going to put in one more plug today. You and I both have been part of the annual polar bear plunge, and that money goes to the emergency service groups, and we've raised a lot of money in that over the years, jumping in the water of the Puget Sound. And I know you'll be there this year,
I'll be there.
And I'll be working on that fundraising event too. But again, that supports our search and rescue people and our fire staff, so that we can respond to those situations that we're not receiving funding for. So please support the 8th annual polar bear plunge and come out and jump with us if you will.
That'll be a lot of fun. Talk a little bit more about that next hour. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Deputy Justin Cotti, and Solo on here today. Thank you so much for being here and talking to me about this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And good to see you guys. Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year.
Do you know you have access to the fastest internet in Washington State? Switch to iFiber Communications right now and take advantage of our special offers. Pay only $29.95 for 100 megabit high-speed internet, or get 3 months of internet absolutely free. That's right, $29.95 for 100 megabit speeds or 3 months of internet free. Shop, stream, and game like never before with iFiber Communications high-speed internet. Call 360-427-4000 or check us online at ifiber.tv. Subject to credit approval. Valid on a 24-month contract.